Hi, my name is Diana Patterson, and this is my informative presentation on leasing versus buying. Most of us have been through the nightmare of trying to buy a vehicle at an automobile dealership, and you sit there for hours, you sit there for days, but eventually you get to take the vehicle home with you. So basically, which is the best route to go, leasing or buying? Well, most of you are familiar with the concept of buying a vehicle. You finance it for anywhere between 12 and 72 months and make payments. But when you're making payments on a 30, 40, $50,000 vehicle, those payments can get kind of costly. So that is where the option of leasing comes in. Wikipedia describes a lease as a contractual arrangement calling for the leasee to pay the leaser for the use of an asset. Normally, your lease of property, buildings, or vehicles are the most common. But when you lease a vehicle, the nice thing is at the end of the lease, you can just turn it in and walk away. There are 5 costly mistakes, according to Libby Wells and Bankrate.com, to avoid. She said the 5 costly mistakes to avoid is paying too much up front, not buying gap insurance. Gap insurance is if you total your vehicle and they don't pay you what it's worth. So now you have to pay that difference. Well, with gap insurance, you're not obligated to pay that difference. The insurance will cover it. The other thing is, with a lease, it's by mileage. So you're allowed 10,000, 12,000, 15,000 miles a year. You want to make sure you're not underestimating how many miles a year you're going to put on that vehicle. So if you think you're going to put on 10, you might as well go with 12 just to give you a little cushion. Because at the end of the lease, they charge you per mile over your allotted mileage. The other thing you want to do is make sure you maintain the car. In the event that you want to buy it at the end of the contract for the lease, you want to know that all the maintenance has been completed on it. And then the last is leasing a car for too long. Leases are, like I said, a way to get a payment for a vehicle a lot cheaper than buying it outright. If you were to lease a vehicle for $50,000, you can get the payment down to almost $400 a month. At the end of the lease, you have 2 options. You can give it back to the dealership and walk away, or you could purchase it and make payments to pay off the difference. So according to Matt Jones, what that is called is that's the residual percentage and amount. So at Edmunds.com, they tell you a little bit about leasing and what the allotted miles are and the residual percentage and amount. So basically, you pay off part of the vehicle in the lease payments, and at the end of the lease, they'll say, okay, you owe us $20,000 if you want to keep this vehicle. So now you're taking out a loan for an additional $20,000, and then you pay off the vehicle. At the end of that, you own it. Why is this better than buying a vehicle? Well, for some people, they can't afford the monthly payment for a truck or a $50,000 vehicle. So they lease it and they either give it back or they lease it and they buy it out and own it. You can go and lease a vehicle for $150 a month, which is a lot cheaper than buying it. I have personally leased and purchased vehicles. I've also leased and bought out the lease at the end of it. So I leased it, I purchased it at the end, and in 8 years I ended up owning the vehicle. So it's up to you which preference works best for you. Everybody has their own personal preference, but I've leased and I've purchased, and I don't think there's a pro or a con to either. Thank you.